Well, hello there. I'm real harsh. And I'm spot on, mate. Anyway, straight into the meat and potatoes. So look, it would appear that they've reached out and spoken to BTK. There's going to be mixed emotions, mixed feelings around this. But what I'm going to say is this, first of all. I'm a little bit tired of these people being sensationalized. People reaching out to them like a Silence of the Lambs, and we're sitting in front of them, quid pro quo and all that, and trying to get information off them to try and out. And do you know what? Fuck that. We shouldn't be talking to these people. They shouldn't be being given the time of day. They shouldn't. Look at what they've done and where they are. Leave them there. Leave them there. And look, I know there's these sympathizers, these crazies who, they look at these people and, rose-coloured shades and all that. You know, look how many fans the likes of Dharma had, Bundy, and again BTK. He speaks in something that we're going to look at in a second about the artwork he was sent and the letters that he received. In a world where we struggle to be nice in general, we have people who are falling in love with serial killers. It's a messed up world that we live in. But yeah, so they've reached out and spoken to BTK, and he sympathises. He sympathises with Bryan. Like, I'm surprised at that. Birds of a feather flock together and all that. But let's have a look at what he had to say and pull it apart. So, here we go. Idaho murders BTK serial killer on solitary confinement and Bryan Kohberger. I know how he feels. The BTK serial killer says he can relate to the loneliness Bryan Kohberger is staring at behind bars, while confirming he never spoke with the criminology student who studied under his true crime co-author. Dennis Rader, the bind, torture, kill murderer, spent months in custody awaiting court proceedings, just as the Idaho murders suspect is doing now. And look, what I will say, the difference in this, I'm going to come up on screen, as this is important. Dennis Rader, he admitted to what he did. Bryan Kohberger hasn't. So at this stage, we do not know whether Bryan Kohberger done this crime. We don't. There'll be people, I've said this in another video, there's people who have already convicted him and it's done and dusted in their minds. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not saying he wasn't involved, but there are certain elements of this that I struggle with. And I did a video earlier today. If you haven't seen it, go and check that out after this one and let me know what you think. Anyway, back to the meat and potatoes. You know me, king of digression. Since I spent from February 2005 to April 2005 in a cell by myself, I know how he feels, he told Fox News Digital. Very lonely. He met with his defense attorney every day, he added, and found ways to pass the time. During frequent meetings with his public defenders, Rader wanted to go through everything prosecutors had on him, even though he had confessed on the day of his arrest, according to his daughter, Carrie Rawson. He was going back and forth between pleading not guilty and guilty, she told Fox News Digital. One difference is Dad confessed and seemed relieved, versus Kohberger has to feel very alone. Kohberger, according to prosecutors in Pennsylvania, may have waived extradition out of a need to know how investigators established probable cause after the crime. And this is what my video was about earlier on today. That was one of the things I struggled with. Once in custody, Rader began receiving letters and artwork from strangers, and soon letters started to come in. Rader said, "I read a lot of the Bible and wrote poetry. It's a pity you didn't decide to write poetry before you started buying, torturing, and killing people." His writings during that time include an infamous missive titled Black Friday, seemingly about his arrest, and signed "The Suspect." "Dad had fan mail very early, and I'm seeing it being sent to Bryan," Rawson said. "And art being made, like women are in love with these guys." And there's a picture of what looks to be a pheasant, some strange looking duck. Kohberger, 28, is being held without bail at the Latah County Jail in Moscow, Idaho, the same town where he allegedly snuck into a 6-bedroom home in the middle of the night and ambushed 4 young people, some of whom may have been sleeping at the start of the attack. Not 100% sure that that's the case. And we've got some more pictures here. It goes on and on, do you know what I mean? It's there's a lot being said there. And look, I just feel that this is dangerous. This is a dangerous route to take, where we are given these people a time of day. It almost makes it look like a life choice. You can be a plumber, you can be an electrician, you could be a murderer who will eventually become a national hero, someone who law enforcement and the media goes to in times of trouble, like Silence of the Lambs. We are giving these people who did these heinous crimes a new lease of life, giving them worth again, and they're not worth anything. Not when they've admitted to the crimes they've done and they've done them. And we need to stop making them the main focus in these stories. I've touched on this before, like with Ted Bundy. Who can honestly say that they can name all of Ted Bundy's victims? But everyone knows who Ted Bundy is. You know, you don't see documentaries about the specific victims and their life and what they did. We don't have movies and Netflix covering them as extensively as Bundy. And what is this interest in these people? Just don't get it. Don't get it. I do get that we have to learn why they do these things, but do we really have to make these people the people that we go to, shining the light on them? Put them in the dark and leave them there. Catch you in the next one.